Shang-Chi himself, the actor who plays him, Simu Liu, responds to Quentin Tarantino and Martin Scorsese and their constant bashing and criticisms of the Marvel Cinematic Universe and the actors in the universe. And, yeah, let's talk about this. Okay, so let's talk about the events that have happened. Of course, over the last 3 to 4 years, Martin Scorsese has pretty much every chance he gets when something of his is coming out, completely tried to destroy the MCU. He doesn't like the actors that are in there. He doesn't like CG. He doesn't like the action. He doesn't like anything, okay? He just doesn't like these comic book movies, and he wants more, as he put it before, classic films and gangster pieces. That's fine. That's what he does. That's what he's into. Quentin Tarantino has also bashed multiple Marvel actors, multiple Marvel films, and, so forth and so forth, kind of reiterating the same thing that Scorsese has and all that. On top of other directors that have done such things, but these two guys obviously keep coming back with it. Quentin Tarantino said one thing that I agreed with, which is Chris Evans was made a star by Captain America. And if Chris Evans wasn't Captain America, the other actor that plays him would be famous, and Chris Evans wouldn't be as big if he wasn't Cap. I agree with that. We're at a day and age where the characters sell the property, the actors don't really contribute much. They do a little, but again, seriously, are we gonna argue against this? This is how it is now. But Simu Liu decided to fire back at both of them. He called them gatekeepers of what they do, because he says they would never give somebody like him an opportunity to star in one of their films that makes 400+ million worldwide. And he feels grateful that Marvel Studios and other companies are taking risks with projects like this, because they do show that they don't just want the same films that these guys are putting out. He then adds he knows not all movie studios are perfect, and he's not saying that, but he says if you look at how much diversity is happening on screen, how many heroes they're creating, empowering communities all over the world, that it's these steps in Hollywood that people like Marvel take and that Disney takes that truly do allow others to see themselves represented. And again, I agree with him as well. And he says he loves the Golden Age too. But if you look at that, the Golden Age is white as hell. And there needs to be diversity because the world is diverse. I'm not going to disagree with that either. I always say this, we need to move on. We need to acknowledge the world as it is today. And again, don't get what he's saying wrong and don't get what I'm saying wrong. I love Martin Scorsese's films, especially some of his older stuff. Quentin Tarantino, I've seen a few of his films and I love it, but most of his films just aren't for me, right? Everybody has a specific taste and genres and things like that. But gangster movies are not gonna be $1-2 billion box office hits. They're niche. Their time, just like the Western, has gone by. People always say, oh, comic book movies are gonna go away like the Western. That's what's happening. They're going away like the Westerns. But you guys realize that that's literally happened to everything before. The things that comic book movies do, Marvel, DC, and Sony's, have all taken comic books and applied them to other genres, which is what works. And that's why these films are successful. And I agree with Lou 100% that is Martin Scorsese going to have a film that's starring almost an entirely Asian cast? Probably not, ever in his life, because he makes a specific type of film. The Marvel universe, the DC universe, Sony's universe, what they can pull from is diverse because the comics are diverse. And that's what matters here. So I agree with all three of them. I do agree with Martin Scorsese and some of the things he says and some of his criticisms. I defended Quentin Tarantino when people thought I was going to destroy him and be angry at him. No, because I agree with him. But I also agree with Simu Liu and tons of other actors. We need to move on and realize that, releasing a new cowboy movie is probably not going to pull in $1 billion. And today's audiences just don't care for it. That's just kind of fact. But comic books are in. And remember, at a time where Martin Scorsese was making his gangster films, Go back and read some of your local newspapers and reviews. There was people saying they wish that the gangster era would be over and that they could go back to the good old days of westerns. We're in a repeating cycle. This also happened at one point with science fiction. Blade Runner was seen at once as the death of science fiction in cinema, because the film flopped at the box office and it was doing the same thing as other films. Let that sink in. Blade Runner was seen as a potential end to science fiction. Blade Runner. Also, directors like John Carpenter were at one point told to go home because nobody likes their movies, and they wouldn't be hired again. John Carpenter, one of the greatest directors of all time, was told, nobody's gonna watch your movies, old man, get out of here. Let all that sink in. I agree with all of them, but I'm gonna stand by what Liu said here. We need to evolve, and diversity is just part of this evolution, so don't criticize that.